Welcome into 76ers Now. I am Jake Chipper here with you today. And on the show, I'm going to be giving you guys 5 bold predictions that I got for the 76ers this upcoming year. Obviously, a big season coming off a massive offseason for the 76ers. So we're going to get into what I think could be some massive possibilities for the Sixers this upcoming season. But before I get into my 5 bold predictions, I want to hear from y'all. That's what we like to do on this channel. Have a conversation. Get you guys involved here on the channel. So before I reveal mine, don't cheat, don't look at mine yet. Let me know what yours are down in the comments section right now. So my first bold prediction for the 76ers this season. I believe Tyrese Maxey will make All-NBA second team, meaning he's a top 10 player in the NBA. And when we look at what he's been able to do so far in his career, every single season, it's just improvement after improvement after improvement. You know, his rookie year, didn't play much, but when he did play was decent. Didn't really have that three-point efficiency, though, which is one of the biggest concerns coming out of college. And ever since then, in all aspects of his game, just gotten better and better and better, all the way up until this past season where he was an all-star for the first time. And he won the Most Improved Player award, and he was a true superstar for the Sixers in the playoffs. And last year, in his big breakout season, Maxey did get some votes for All-NBA. He got 1 vote for second team and 13 votes for third team. So I think if that's sort of his baseline that we look at and we project improvement moving forward, I think it's absolutely a possibility that he could be a top 10 player in the NBA and make All-NBA second team this season. What I project for him coming up this year, I think he's going to have a little more offensive responsibility, even with Paul George coming in. I think a little bit will be taken off the shoulders of Joel Embiid, which we'll get to later. But I think Maxey can go up to almost 29 points a game, almost 7 assists, just under 4 rebounds, still maintaining solid efficiency, shooting 46.5% from the field and almost 39% from the three. I mean, those look like All-NBA second team numbers to me. And if we take a look at the All-NBA teams from this past season, right, just to get an idea of where he's kind of going to have to be if he wants to make an All-NBA second team, maybe even first team. But first team from last year, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, Giannis, Tatum. Those 5 guys, going to be hard to surpass them. I think those 5, as long as they stay healthy, probably stay on that first team, second team area. Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard, Anthony Davis were on the second team. I think Maxey can get right in the mix there. We'll see what Kawhi does this year. I think he's a candidate to maybe fall off a little bit. Brunson, Anthony Edwards, it's going to be hard to surpass those guys, but why can't Maxey be right up there with those two? Anthony Davis, always a health concern with him. What if he doesn't play 65 games and isn't eligible for a team? You look at the third team, you had LeBron, Steph, Sabonis, Tyrese Halliburton, Devin Booker. I think Maxey absolutely can be in the conversation with a Tyrese Halliburton and with a Domantas Sabonis. And then you look at those next 5 that were left off the list right after those first 3 teams. You had Jaylen Brown, you had Paul George, you had Maxey. So Maxey was just outside that top 15, which is, again, why I think he can make that jump. You had Rudy Gobert, and you had Victor Wembanyama. You do have to consider there were some players that missed that 65-game threshold that could be in the conversations if they do play 65 games next year. Joel Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, Kyrie Irving, Jimmy Butler, John Morant, all candidates for All-NBA teams if they do play enough games. But what do you think? I think Maxey easily can make an All-NBA team, probably even an All-NBA second team. But what do you think? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Does Tyrese Maxey have what it takes and have the opportunity to make an All-NBA team this season? Now, my bold prediction number 2, I think Paul George turns back the clock and makes an all-defensive team this season. Yes, I know he's coming up on age 35, and it's been a while since he's sort of been that elite defender that he was always known to be. His last all-defensive selection was all the way back in 2018-2019, where he made first-team All-NBA. And ever since then, he's still been known as a good defender, and not quite an elite defender, though. But I think he can turn back the clock this season for a couple of reasons. One, the Sixers are going to need Paul George to be that high-level, high-leverage defender because they don't really have other guys in the wing that are going to be able to defend the likes of a Jason Tatum, a Jaylen Brown, a Giannis, a Mikal Bridges, an OG Anunoby. Like, they just don't have anyone else that can do that. So they're going to need and rely on Paul George a lot to get that job done. And I think Paul George is going to buy into that end of the floor Because Paul George said he wants to play basketball the right way for the 76ers. He wants to win. I think he's all the way bought in to what Nick Nurse is preaching on doing whatever it takes to win a championship. And for the Sixers to win a title, he's going to have to buy in on that end of the floor, and I think he will. And I think he has the tools, even though he's getting older, to maybe show people one last time, I can prove to you I'm still an all-defensive caliber player. Bold prediction number 3. Now, before you freak out, before you get mad at me here, Joel Embiid's production drops, I think. But I'm not saying Joel Embiid will be a worse player or Joel Embiid's falling off or anything like that. Before everybody freaks out, Nick Nurse, Daryl Morey said that health is a big priority for the team's veterans this year. Obviously, that includes Joel Embiid. And they did say Embiid isn't going to play a whole lot of back-to-backs this season. So he's going to play less games, might play less minutes, but also bringing in Paul George. Now you have Maxey and Paul George to take that offensive load off Joel Embiid. Embiid recently came out and, talking about the Olympics and what it means like to play on a team with all those stars, said, I've never gotten to play on a team where I don't have to score 35 every night, because if I don't score 35 every night, we're probably losing the game. Well, now, with Paul George and Maxey, I think he can take a step back, preserve his body, and not have to go so hard every single night as he has these past couple seasons. And again, I'm just talking from a statistical perspective. He's still going to be just as dominant and just as good of a player he always has been. I mean, the past couple seasons, 34, 33 points a game, up to nearly 6 assists per game. Obviously, the games played is a big deal, but just from a raw, statistical number standpoint, I think he drops a little bit from the 34 he averaged this past season down to about 28, 29 points per game. I think, again, Maxey's going to take a much bigger step forward on offense, and then obviously you have Paul George as well. Right around 11.4 rebounds. Maybe the assists go up a tick, and I think his efficiency will still maintain at a similar level. I think he'll shoot about 54% from the field, 37% from 3. Maybe he takes a few more threes than usual. We saw at the back end of last season after the All-Star break, once he actually returned from injury, he was shooting a lot of threes because he didn't really want to bang inside with that injury, so we'll see if that's more of a factor this year. At the end of the day, I think that because Embiid, I think his production will decrease statistically. I think he will be healthy come playoff time, and that is something the Sixers desperately need. Again, I'm totally fine with him taking, not a back seat, but just having to do less than he's normally had to do in order to preserve that body and make sure that this team is fully healthy for a playoff run. I got 2 more bold predictions to get to. But like I said, I think Paul George is going to turn back the clock and get that all-defensive team on his resume this season. Well, you could turn back the clock right here and pick up yourself a Paul George jersey if you agree with me and you think that he's going to kind of revert back to his prime form. I already ordered myself a Paul George jersey. I got mine in white. They also have it in blue. Throw our friends at Fanatics at chatsports.com/Paul George. The season is starting up soon. And when you pull up to these Sixers games at the Wells Fargo Center, you're going to want to be looking good. You're going to want to be looking fly. And I think this number 8 Paul George jersey looks tremendous. So again, go to chatsports.com/Paul George. That'll be in the comments and description of the video to make it easier for you guys. Go get your Paul George jerseys today. Bold prediction number 4. I think Ricky Council finishes the season top 5 in most improved player voting. Do I think he'll win it? Maybe not. But look, I'm a big believer in Ricky Council, man. I love what he showed in limited action last year, and I love what he showed in the Summer League as well. Now, of course, played just 32 games a season ago, just 9 minutes a game, 5 points, just over a rebound, was pretty efficient, but on very, very limited, shooting numbers. So the efficiency, not something necessarily to hang your hat on. But look, I think this year he's due for a much bigger role, and I think he's confident enough and has the ability to step in and succeed in that role. I think he can double his minutes, more than double his minutes, from about 9 to about 20 a game, because the Sixers just don't really have any wings off the bench. He's kind of their best wing off the bench, just him and KJ Martin. Other than that, it's a lot of point guards and centers for the Sixers. I think he can get up to 10 points a game, almost 5 rebounds, and I think he'll be pretty efficient. Again, he won't be taking too many shots, but I think when he does, he'll be efficient in knocking down those shots, especially from 3, because we saw it in the Summer League, and I think he is, the right mentality and the right type of player to be able to succeed. I think he's going to force his way onto the court this year, man. And Nick Nurse talked about it, that with some of the veterans, prioritizing health a little bit more, these young guys like Jared McCain and like Ricky Council are going to get a little more minutes than they usually will. I think he's going to force his way onto the court. I really do. I love what I've seen from him and his progression since being drafted, or since being signed after not being drafted, excuse me. So I think top 5 most improved player is certainly in the cards for Rookie Council heading into this season. And finally, number 5, we talked about this on the show the other day when we went through some trade targets. I think the Sixers make a trade, and I think they trade for Pistons wing, 3-point shooter, sniper, Simone Fontecchio. And he had a very, very solid season, underratedly, between Utah and Detroit last year. Spent a good chunk of the year with the Jazz, playing decent minutes, about 23 a game, about 9 points, 3.5 rebounds, and you could see the numbers, was pretty efficient. But once he got sent off to Detroit, played a lot more minutes, his role increased, and his raw numbers, points per game-wise, increased. But what I love is that while he was shooting the ball more and scoring more, his efficiency went up as well. Again, very limited action, just 16 games for the Pistons, but shot almost 43% from 3-point range. And the reason I bring this up as a trade target and as a trade, at all for the Sixers here at the deadline is the KJ Martin contract, right? The Sixers gave KJ Martin a 2-year, $16 million deal. He's making about $7.9 million this season. KJ Martin, in my opinion, is not a reliable piece of this rotation, and I think it's an area you can upgrade. And that's why they gave him that $7.9 million, because they can use that to go get a better player. Now, the Sixers are over the first apron, and unfortunately for teams above the first apron this season, you cannot trade for more salary than what you send out. So KJ Martin making 7.9, Fontecchio is just under that. So this is about, the level of player you'll be able to get. But look, you send away KJ Martin for the salary, and you send away a first-round pick. This 2026 first is the least favorable between OKC, Houston, and the Clippers. So pretty much guaranteed, in my opinion, to be a back end of the first-round pick, basically a second-round pick. So you give up a first-round pick, you get a player in Fontecchio who I think could be, if not a starter for you, a very, very reliable player off the bench. I think if you trade for him at the deadline or before the deadline, I think he can average over 10 points a game and shoot over 40% from 3, which the Sixers don't really have a player like that off their bench right now, unless you really, really believe that Ricky Council could take that step regardless. Even if he does, I think Fontecchio would be a huge improvement over KJ Martin and just provide a better skill set, someone that can space the floor and be efficient when he does get those open looks. But would you make this trade? KJ Martin in the first for Fontecchio, man, I think it's very realistic, and I think it's possible. I'm typing my A's. I would accept this all day, but you let me know, type A for accept or D for decline. So those were 5 bold predictions, but I had to sneak one more in there for you guys, and this is my bonus. I think the 76ers win the NBA Finals. I said it, baby. I'm going with it. The Sixers will be your NBA champions in 2024-25. I think Embiid will be Finals MVP. I think the Sixers beat the Thunder. Give me Sixers in 7. I think it's a hard-fought series against 2 really good teams, but as long as the Sixers stay healthy and they go into the postseason, sort of working out all their offensive issues and they're clicking and everything's going right, and again, Embiid is healthy and ready to perform, man, I think the Sixers get it done, bringing home the Larry O.B. to Philadelphia, baby. So that's it. Those are my 5 bold predictions, plus 1 bonus bold prediction for the 76ers this upcoming season. Don't forget to drop your bold prediction in the comments down below and subscribe to the channel if you want daily Sixers news and rumors that is entertaining and informative. Hit that sub button, and we'll see you next time here on the channel.